Welcome back to the channel USA Coins 69. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage, something that millions of people have held in their hands, probably without giving it a second thought. The Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1947. This little coin, often ignored in pocket change, can be a ticket to a small fortune. But only if you know what to look for. Let's go back in time for a moment. Picture the United States in 1947. World War II had just ended. The country was transitioning from war to peace. Factories that once produced tanks and planes were now making cars and household goods. America was changing rapidly. And in that era, pennies were more than just pocket change, they were a reflection of American spirit, resilience, and hope. That's when the 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny came into circulation. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this penny so special? After all, Lincoln pennies are among the most common coins in America, right? That's true. But hidden among these copper coins are a few rare and extraordinary gems. Let's begin with the basics. The 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck in 3 U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while those from Denver bear a tiny D, and coins from San Francisco are marked with an S. Hundreds of millions of these pennies were made that year. In fact, over 190 million came from Philadelphia alone. So, it's easy to assume these coins are all worthless. But don't be fooled. Because in the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't just about how many coins were minted, it's about how many have survived in flawless condition, or with unusual features. That's where things get interesting. Collectors look for coins that are in pristine, mint state condition. Imagine a coin that has never seen a pocket, a cash register, or the dusty bottom of a piggy bank. No scratches, no discoloration. Just that brilliant copper luster, as if it had just rolled out of the mint. These coins are incredibly hard to find because pennies were, and still are, used constantly. They get dirty, worn, and tossed around. So a 1947 penny in perfect shape? That's like finding a needle in a haystack, but there's more. Some 1947 wheat pennies contain rare errors, little mistakes made during the minting process. These errors can turn a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. We're talking about things like double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or clipped planchets. These mistakes weren't supposed to happen, and that's exactly why they're so valuable. Now let's talk about the mint marks. Coins from the Denver and San Francisco mints often draw more attention from collectors. The 1947 D penny, for example, can be valuable if it's in a high grade. And the 1947 S penny, especially if it has a sharp strike, no wear, and full original luster, can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on its condition. But then, there are the legends. The mythic few. The holy grails of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. These are the coins that seem ordinary at first glance, but under the right light, under a collector's microscope, they reveal their true value. Imagine flipping through a box of old coins and spotting a 1947 penny. You dust it off, look at the back, see those wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent. You look again, closely this time. The surface is flawless. The color? Deep red, glowing like it just left the mint. And then, you spot something strange. A tiny detail that doesn't quite match the others. Maybe it's a rare die error. Maybe it's an extremely rare proof that shouldn't even exist. Or maybe it's just so perfectly preserved, so untouched by time, that it qualifies as a near-perfect specimen. That's when you realize, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding a treasure. You see, one such 1947 wheat penny, discovered in absolutely stunning condition, graded as MS 67 plus read by professional graders, crossed the auction block not too long ago. Collectors from all over the country were watching. The bids came in fast. Then faster. The numbers climbed higher and higher, breaking expectations, leaving jaws on the floor, and when the final gavel dropped, the price that flashed on the screen was jaw-dropping. This tiny copper coin, once worth just a single cent, had just sold for an astonishing $170,000, let that sink in. 1 cent turned into $170,000. It's stories like these that turn casual hobbyists into passionate collectors. That keep treasure hunters awake at night, searching through old jars, rolls of coins, flea markets, and estate sales. Because out there, somewhere, in someone's forgotten drawer or dusty attic box, there may be another 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny waiting to be discovered. Waiting to change someone's life. So the next time you come across a penny, don't toss it aside. Take a moment. Look closely. Inspect the date. Check the mint mark. Examine its condition, because you never know, you might just be holding a piece of American history worth more than its weight in gold, and maybe, just maybe, worth $170,000. Today, we're taking a deep, eye-opening look at one of the most underrated coins in American history, the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny. A tiny piece of metal that could change your life if you happen to find the right one. And yes, we're talking about a coin worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay with me. Now, let's rewind the clock to the year 1937. It was the tail end of the Great Depression. The country was trying to recover. Families were scraping by, every cent mattered, literally. People were cautious. Savings were small, and pennies were powerful. Kids collected them in jars, parents counted them at the store counter, and the average worker earned just a few dollars a day. In that world, the Lincoln Wheat Penny was more than just change, it was a symbol of economic hope and perseverance. Introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the penny featured his portrait on the front, a first for U.S. coinage, and two graceful wheat stalks on the reverse, framing the bold words, 1 cent. That iconic design ran until 1958 and is still adored by collectors today. Now, let's zoom in on the year 1937. In that year, 3 major U.S. mints produced Lincoln Wheat Pennies: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint marked its coins slightly differently. Coins from Philadelphia had no mint mark. Denver pennies were stamped with a small d, and San Francisco coins had an S. You might be thinking, if so many were made, how could they possibly be rare? Good question. Let's break it down. In total, over 300 million Lincoln Wheat Pennies were struck in 1937. That might sound like a huge number, and it is, but here's where things get interesting. Not all coins are created equal. The passage of time has a way of separating the common from the extraordinary. Most 1937 pennies have lived hard lives. They've been dropped, scraped, washed, and worn. But once in a while, one survives. In perfect condition. Like a copper time capsule, untouched by the chaos of the decades, these are the coins that collectors dream of. The coins that auction houses quietly whisper about. The coins that can make someone's entire collection legendary. And then, there are the error coins. That's right. The U.S. Mint, despite its precision and history, sometimes made mistakes. And those mistakes? They've become gold mines for collectors. We're talking about doubled dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and even coins struck on the wrong metal planchets. Each of these errors is a story in itself, a glitch in the matrix that turns an ordinary coin into a masterpiece of rarity. Imagine this: a 1937 penny from Denver, perfectly struck, never circulated, and somehow blessed, or cursed, with a minting error that only a few people in the world have ever seen. Suddenly, this penny is not just an old coin. It's a rare artifact. A unique survivor of American history, and people pay for uniqueness. Let's focus now on condition, or what experts call grade. A coin's grade is everything. It's what turns a penny worth 3 cents into one worth thousands. The top of the grading scale is called MS 70, Mint State 70, a perfect, flawless coin. Now, finding a 1937 penny in MS 70 is next to impossible. But coins in the high 60s? Still incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. Collectors and professional grading services look for sharp details, clean surfaces, full original luster, and no signs of wear. Just think, a single fingerprint or tiny scratch can destroy a coin's value. That's why coins that were preserved in rolls, tucked away in vaults, or sealed by mistake, those are the ones that escape time, and once discovered, they ignite bidding wars. Now, let's talk about market demand. You see, the Lincoln Wheat Penny has a fan base. A huge one. Collectors around the world chase these coins, assembling complete sets, searching for upgrades, and obsessing over mint marks. For them, the 1937 penny is a key piece in the puzzle, a year rich with potential, especially when it comes to flawless condition or rare errors, and that brings us to the big question: what is a 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny actually worth? Well, that depends. In circulated condition, maybe a few cents. In nice condition, a few dollars. If it's from Denver or San Francisco and in better shape, could be worth $10, $20, even more. Throw in a small mint error, and suddenly you're looking at a few $100. But then there's the top tier, the elite coins, the ones graded MS 67 or better. With blazing red luster, struck perfectly, stored safely for generations, these coins are incredibly rare. Only a handful exist. And when they come up for auction, collectors don't just bid, they battle, which brings us to the climax of this incredible journey. Not long ago, one of these elite 1937 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, flawless in every way, gleaming red, a numismatic jewel, crossed the auction block. A penny that had never been touched by time or tarnished by circulation, and when the final bid was placed and the gavel fell, that small, copper coin sold for an astonishing $179,000. That's right. A single penny. Worth $179,000. Still think pennies are worthless? The truth is, one might be hiding in plain sight. In your attic, in your grandparents' jar of old coins, in a forgotten box from a yard sale. It could be sitting quietly, waiting to be discovered. So the next time you see a 1937 penny, look again, because what you're holding might not just be change. It could be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Today, we're going to explore one such coin. A small, humble-looking penny minted during a time of global chaos, national change, and historical importance, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Yes, just a single cent from 1941, might be worth a life-changing amount of money. So grab your coin jars, dig into your old drawers, and stay with me as we unlock the incredible secrets behind this unassuming piece of American history. Let's set the stage. The year is 1941. The world is teetering on the edge of World War II. The United States hasn't entered the war yet, but tension is thick in the air. Factories are starting to shift toward defense production. People are nervous, but hopeful. Radios buzz with updates from Europe. Families gather around their dinner tables and talk about rationing, jobs, and what might come next, and in the middle of all this, a penny, small, round, made mostly of copper. It may not look like much, but it's a time capsule from one of the most pivotal years in modern history. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny features the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, his steady, thoughtful face etched in copper. On the reverse side, two wheat stalks curve gently inward, framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. It's a design that coin collectors call iconic, and for good reason. It lasted from 1909 to 1958, and it's one of the most beloved designs in American coinage. Now let's talk numbers. In 1941, 3 U.S. mints produced Lincoln Wheat Pennies: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, coins from Denver have a small D under the date, and coins from San Francisco show an S. Altogether, more than 887 million of these pennies were minted in that single year. That's nearly a billion coins. So how can any of them possibly be rare? It's a fair question, but here's where things get interesting. You see, when coins are first minted, they're in pristine condition. Sharp details. Glossy luster. Beautiful surfaces. But the moment a penny leaves the mint, its life gets rough. It gets tossed into pockets, dropped onto sidewalks, scraped by vending machines, clanked around in piggy banks, and left in dusty corners of drawers. Most of those 887 million 1941 pennies? They've been worn down by time. They're scratched, discolored, faded, and forgotten, but a few, just a few, were never touched. Never used. Somehow preserved in perfect or near-perfect condition, these are the coins that send shockwaves through the collecting world. Let's talk about condition, or what experts call grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A grade of MS 70, mint state 70, is flawless. Practically perfect. Coins in the high 60s, like MS 66, MS 67, or above, are incredibly rare. Especially for coins from the early 1940s, when coin storage and preservation were much less common. Now imagine finding a 1941 penny in MS 67 red condition. That means not only is it flawless in detail, but it still has its original red copper color, as if it was just minted yesterday. That's not just rare, it's historic. And then there are the error coins, the true unicorns of the coin world. Sometimes, during the minting process, something goes wrong. The dies misalign. The strike is off-center. The mint mark is repunched. Or even more bizarre, two coins overlap during striking, or a penny gets struck on a dime planchet. These are the misfit coins. The accidents. The oddities, and collectors? They love them, because when a coin has both rarity and a mistake that was never meant to happen, its value skyrockets. Let's take a moment to talk about market demand. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series is one of the most widely collected coin series in the world. It's often the starting point for new collectors. But serious numismatists, people who dedicate their lives to coins, are obsessed with finding the highest grade, rarest versions of each year and mint mark. So when a 1941 penny pops up in pristine condition, flawless luster, deep red tone, and no sign of wear, it becomes a battleground for bidders at major auctions. Some will travel across the country just to see one. Others will spend years hunting for one that matches or beats the top-graded coins in existence. Why? Because coins like these aren't just currency anymore. They're history. They're art. And they're investments. Some of these 1941 pennies have already entered private collections, sealed away in temperature-controlled vaults, never to be touched again, but some are still out there. In old coin rolls. In forgotten piggy banks. In dusty drawers in your grandparents' attic. And that brings us to the moment you've been waiting for. One very specific 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck in Philadelphia, never circulated, graded as MS 67 red by a leading coin grading company, recently made headlines in the collector's world. The bidding was intense. Seasoned collectors battled it out, each one hoping to claim this perfect piece of American history. When the final bid was placed and the gavel came down, the value of that single 1-cent coin reached a jaw-dropping total. That penny, originally worth just 1 cent, sold for $165,000. Let that sink in. A coin that many people would walk right past on the ground turned out to be worth $165,000. So the next time you get a handful of change, don't ignore that penny. Don't toss it in the tip jar without looking. Take a second. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Look at its color and condition, because one of those tiny copper coins might just be your hidden fortune. Today, we're peeling back the layers of history and diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet incredibly valuable coins in American numismatic history, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. It's more than just a coin. It's a story. A symbol. A survivor of war. And possibly, a small treasure hiding in someone's dusty drawer, old jar, or family coin collection. Now let's take a journey back in time to the year 1945. The world was at a turning point. World War II was coming to an end. Allied forces were marching toward victory. Soldiers were returning home. Cities were celebrating, rebuilding, and breathing a collective sigh of relief. America was healing, scarred by war, but proud and resilient. And in that moment of history, as the world tried to piece itself back together, the U.S. Mint was still pressing coins. Because the economy needed to move. Shops needed change. People needed pennies, but the pennies minted in 1945? They were far from ordinary. That year, the Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck at 3 U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, with a small d under the date; and San Francisco, marked with an S each mint produced millions of coins. In fact, if you look at the raw numbers, the 1945 penny might seem common. Over 1 billion were minted across all 3 locations. That's right, over 1 billion pennies were created that year. So how does one of those become rare? It's not just about quantity. It's about survival. You see, most coins live hard lives. They get scuffed, scraped, circulated, dropped, spilled on, corroded, and even melted. And with pennies, that rough life is even tougher. They're the workhorses of American currency, changing hands 1,000 times before retirement, but a few lucky ones managed to survive, untouched. Uncirculated. Hidden in rolls, sealed in vaults, or stored by collectors who knew these coins were something special. Those are the ones we're talking about today. Now let's talk about what collectors look for. There are 3 major elements that determine a penny's value: mint mark, condition, and rarity. First, the mint mark. Coins from Denver and San Francisco often draw more attention from collectors because of their slightly lower mintage numbers and their distinct identifiers. If your penny has a tiny D or S under the date, pay close attention, it could be special. Next, the condition, arguably the most important factor. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, where anything graded over MS 65, mint state 65, is already considered top tier. But a penny in MS 67 or higher, especially with original red luster, is like finding a unicorn in your backyard. Why does the color matter? Well, freshly minted pennies have a bright, reddish copper color. Over time, they darken, fade, or develop spots. But if a penny has survived for nearly 80 years and still glows with that original copper red sheen, that's like stepping into a time machine and grabbing a coin straight off the press in 1945. And then, there's the wild card: errors. The US Mint is precise, but not perfect. Sometimes, coins come out with stunning mistakes: double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or coins struck on the wrong metal. These errors weren't supposed to happen. And that's exactly why collectors chase them. Now, imagine this scenario: you're sorting through an old coin jar from your grandparents' attic. Dozens of pennies spill onto the table. Most are brown, worn, nothing unusual, but then, your eyes catch something different. A 1945 penny. Sharp details. Deep, reddish glow. A mint mark staring back at you clearly. You hold it up to the light, and it shines like a newly minted coin. You might be holding something extraordinary. These kinds of discoveries don't just happen in museums. They happen in basements. At garage sales. In flea markets. Or inside those yellow coin wrappers you've never opened. And when one of those rare, perfectly preserved 1945 Lincoln Wheat pennies makes it to an auction house, collectors don't just gather, they battle. The bidding begins. Quiet at first. But then the tension rises. Paddle after paddle lifts into the air. Thousands, tens of thousands, the room grows quiet as the numbers climb. Every collector there knows how special this coin is. How few exist in such pristine condition. And then, the gavel drops, history is made, the crowd exhales. Another rare piece of the past has found a new home. Now you're probably wondering, what's the highest a 1945 Lincoln Wheat penny has ever sold for? Well, one extraordinary specimen, graded at the top of its class, shimmering with original red brilliance, preserved for decades without a single blemish, stunned the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block, the final sale. That single penny sold for an incredible $160,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent, turned into $160,000. Think about that the next time you see a penny on the ground. It might just be more than spare change. It might be a time traveler. A survivor. A symbol of history. And for someone lucky enough to recognize it, it could be a life-changing treasure. So go ahead. Check your change. Look through old boxes. Open that jar on top of the fridge that no one's touched in years, because that 1945 Lincoln Wheat penny of your dreams, it might already be in your hands. Today, we're going to uncover the incredible and surprising story of the 1951 Lincoln Wheat penny. And by the end of this video, you'll know why this simple little coin is making waves in the world of collectors, and why one special version sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping price. Let's go back to the year 1951. America was in the midst of change. The scars of World War II were healing. Soldiers were building lives, families were growing, and the country was on the brink of the modern boom era. Suburbs were expanding, televisions were becoming household items, and the American dream felt within reach. Amid all that excitement and transformation, the U.S. Mint was doing what it had always done, producing coins for a growing nation, and in that year, tucked away in pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks across the country, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny quietly entered circulation. It didn't look extraordinary. It had the same design Americans had come to know and love since 1909, President Abraham Lincoln on the front, his thoughtful expression cast in copper, and 2 wheat ears on the back, cradling the bold words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above that? The Latin motto, E pluribus unum. From many, 1.it was a beautiful, classic coin. But little did people know, some of those 1951 pennies would become incredibly valuable pieces of American history. Now let's break it down. In 1951, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln Wheat Pennies at 3 different locations: Philadelphia Mint, No Mint marked, Denver Mint, marked with a small D, San Francisco Mint, marked with an S. Each of these mints struck millions, hundreds of millions, of pennies. Over 286 million came from Philadelphia. Nearly 625 million were struck in Denver. And San Francisco added over 136 million to the total. That's nearly 1.05 billion pennies in 1 year. So naturally, people assume that every 1951 penny is common. And most of them are, but here's the twist: in the world of coins, it's not just about how many were made. It's about how many survived, and more importantly, how well they survived. Most of those pennies lived rough lives. They jingled in pockets, scraped against other coins, fell to the ground, got tarnished by water, corroded by time. Their copper surfaces dulled. Their details wore down. Their value? Just a cent or two, maybe a few bucks at best if you're lucky. But here's where it gets exciting: every once in a while, a few pennies somehow dodge the wear and tear of everyday life. Maybe someone stashed a brand new roll in a drawer and forgot about it. Maybe a collector tucked a few mint-fresh examples into a coin album right off the press. These are the survivors, the uncirculated, the flawless, the rare, and it's these coins that can explode in value. Now let's talk about grading, the secret language of coin collectors. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. If your 1951 penny is scratched, dull, or worn, it might grade in the teens or 20s. But if it's crisp, clean, with full luster and no signs of handling, that's when you're looking at mint state grades, MS 60 and up. And if you've got a 1951 penny in MS 66, MS 67, or even higher, especially one with that brilliant original red copper color, you're entering elite territory. Collectors chase those coins like hidden treasure, but that's not all. Some coins come with errors, little mistakes made at the mint that turn a regular coin into something incredibly rare. Maybe the mint mark was accidentally stamped twice. Maybe the coin was struck off-center. Maybe it was struck on the wrong metal planchet, or features doubling in the lettering. These minting errors are accidents. But in the world of coin collecting, they're gold, because collectors aren't just buying a coin. They're buying uniqueness. They're buying a story. A mystery. A once-in-a-lifetime find. So, let's say you stumble upon a 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny in a coin roll, in a drawer, or inside a forgotten piggy bank. What should you look for? Start with the date and mint mark, 1951, and then look for a small D or S below the year. Next, look at the coin's color and condition. Does it still have its original reddish shine? Are the lines on Lincoln's coat sharp and clean? Can you see every wheat grain on the reverse side? If you're seeing all of that, you might have something special. Now imagine this: one of these perfect coins, untouched, brilliantly red, preserved for more than 70 years, lands in the hands of a professional coin grading service. They place it under magnification. They check for blemishes, nicks, and luster. And after all their evaluation, they return it with a high-grade certification, perhaps MS-67 or MS-68 red. That's when the magic happens. That's when the auctions start buzzing, collectors from all over the country begin watching. Dealers make phone calls. Bids roll in. It's not just about the coin anymore, it's about the story, the rarity, the perfection, and when a coin like that hits the auction block, it doesn't go quietly. Recently, one such flawless example of the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny, graded in stunning, nearly perfect condition, crossed the stage at a major coin auction. Bidders competed, each one pushing the price higher, each one determined to claim this copper masterpiece, and when the auctioneer brought the gavel down, the final number left everyone speechless. That tiny penny, originally worth just 1 cent, sold for $146,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent. Turned into $146,000. So the next time you find a penny from 1951, don't ignore it. Don't toss it aside, take a closer look, because hiding in plain sight, among the coins most people forget, is a piece of American history that could change your life. Thanks for watching. If you love these stories of hidden treasures, rare finds, and unbelievable values, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more deep dives into the world of coins, and ring the bell so you never miss out on the next astonishing coin discovery. And remember, treasure isn't always buried, sometimes it's sitting in your pocket.